Jay Brody is filling in for Ward for the day. And, you know, Jay, I gotta say, I always have a soft spot for siblings who work together. Because I love working with my brother.
Oh, that's very nice.
Except for sometimes he's embarrassing. But for the most part, I like working with my brother. And these brothers have a book that I think, especially in today's climate, is so needed and necessary. So let us get them in here to talk about media horror. Please welcome to the show, Daniel and Stephen Shehori.
Hello.
Thank you for being here, guys.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Finally be here ourselves.
It's, listen, first tell people what media horror is.
The book itself, the book was created, it came from our personal experiences of learning how to promote ourselves. And over time, we shared that with our friends in the immediate comedy community where we came from. And then we branched out to all things in this city and then beyond. So over time, we're like, let's just put this down into a text, a document that we can share with other people. Because I think we sort of got fed up with it at some point. It's like, this is not what we meant to do. We're trying to do our own comedic shows and write things and produce things. And this PR stuff just kept getting in the way. We're like, enough of this. But then since we started to focus on it, then it just piles on. And now we're doing more media jobs than ever.
We sort of embraced it.
Yeah.
And,
And it's amazing what can happen sometimes when you just embrace it.
it is. Yes. We gave into the media horrors in us, and we thought, let's find a way to put that forward. At first, it was kind of like, let's teach other people to do this so they'll stop asking us.
That's it. That's really true. It's like, if we can do this, anybody can do this, because it's just basic. We'll sum up the whole book. It's just be nice, be respectful, ask often whenever you have something that you think is worth talking about.
Yeah,
You guys really are the age-old adage, if you can't beat them, join them. That's exactly what you guys did.
That's true.
I think that's true, and we kind of felt like, let's find a way to, and to speak in more specific terms, what the book tells people to do is, look, if you have something, if you're an artist of any kind, if you're a comedian, if you're a musician, small business owner, charity, whatever it is, large business owner, and you have something you want to get out there to the media, whether it's radio, podcasts, print news, TV, anything in between, there's a specific way to do it that typically involves press releases and communicating and developing relationships with the media. And it's the kind of stuff that we all assume that's not for us, that's only for big celebrities who do that, or that this is for people who have money. And the idea of the book is to say, it's not like anybody with a project of any kind or a career they're trying to build. You can do this, and you can get on great shows like this by following a certain method where you come across professionally and don't sound like an idiot, basically.
Right. There's no trick to that.
Something that you've kind of each said in different ways that I think is amazing is you say, Daniel, you said be nice. And Stephen, you just said be professional. And what is shocking to me is that many people need to be told that.
That's right.
And,
Not just in this realm,
well, yes, in every realm, it's true.
That's right. Yeah.
But we had, and we're always very open to brand new artists on this show, because Ward and I, as I was saying before we came on air, like accidentally got here, and this is my media, my publicity. I'm supposed to be like an Oscar-winning actress in Hollywood right now, guys, but I'm here. And so we always want to help other people, right? But we had this one kid who just tweeted us like 180 times.
Oh, jeez.
And we're like,
that was his method to get here?
And his method was then to also point out other people we've had on the show that he thinks he's better than. And eventually,
amazing.
I responded to his tweets and I said, why don't you just send us an email? Like, we are the easiest people to get in contact with in media. And so your book, I think, is going to revolutionize some people's lives.
I like that. I hope that is true.
I want, if that kid is listening, maybe absolutely. It's because you don't have to go at it that way. And as you just pointed out, you should not go at it that way. That's not the way. There's an easier, calmer, chiller way to go about
And that
this.
doesn't involve guilt. There was that news story the other day about this. Was it this British guy who's just sitting in this park and he's going to keep playing the piano until his girlfriend or this woman decides to be with him or be with him again. And it's like, dude, you should not petition or guilt people into doing something for you.
I was so irritated by the number of people who were like, "Isn't it beautiful what this guy's doing?"
So romantic,
no,
creepy a-hole. Yeah.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
It is weird and selfish.
Yes, and it's very selfish. So we sort of advise people to avoid, gimmicky, guilt-riddled trips like that and attempts to contact you that way. You don't need to.
No, I will say this. I got into radio a few years ago before I was mostly in the construction field. Dealing with media people now, as someone who was a newcomer only a few years ago, there are it's almost like being in a secret society. You do have to shake hands a certain way. There is a secret handshake. You do have to knock in a particular way at the door to get it in, and it's not nefarious or anything. It's just things have to look a certain way and sound a certain way, or everyone's BS detectors go up. That's not
true.
That's not a press release I want to reply to. This
and we
isn't
talk
an email
about that too.
from the right person.
Even if you write to a screenplay or something, and you write it all in Comic Sans font and you send that off, that's not going to help the cause. Yeah. And there's certain little things we talk about. That's a great point. And we talk about that in the book too. Here's some basic formatting things. Don't deviate from this too much because people's BS radars are going to go off.
Big time. And I think we live in a very exciting time for creator and creatives in that it is cheaper than ever to make your own projects and easier than ever, and technology is there. But then once you get it done, I think that's where a lot of people are lost and have spent all their money making the thing and don't know what to do. And so this is a hugely needed chunk of information because, people like me, I have no clue. I'm like, I'll put something on Instagram. Is that working? And it's not working.
Right. Well, I'm sure it works to a point.
Sometimes.
Right? But it's an amalgamation of infinite methods of how you can go about it, and in this day and age, like you said, there are so many avenues and especially in a city like Toronto or any major city, I tell people, I bet you have no idea how much media is available to you in your city alone. You haven't even realized. And every day in this world, somebody is coming out with something new that you could reach out to on so many different platforms, and it's infinite.
Yeah, it's much easier to do these days, and it's also at the same time you want to adhere to a certain process to do it, just because there's more media contacts and shows available to you. If you're approaching all of these in the wrong way, you're not going to be any better off.
And but the common denominator to all of them is that at the other end of a computer or a telephone is a human being. And what this is all about is I wish to appeal to the human being at the under end of the phone, of the email, and express clearly, calmly, respectfully, this is what I am doing, this is who I am, and this is what I wish to speak to you about. And not everybody is going to be interested in that, but over time, many of them always will, especially again in this setting where there's so many. Somebody is going to be interested, and if this show here is not interested in this thing that I'm doing, that's fine, because I'm going to come back to you in 4 or 5 months, maybe sooner, maybe later, with something else to talk to you about. And eventually, over time, we will speak to everybody that we wish to speak to. You just have to be patient and keep doing what you're doing, keep growing what you're doing, and we encourage the people that are just getting going that start doing this now.
Right.
And it'll grow with you, right? This will grow with you. If everything else that you're already doing in your productions and your shows and your restaurants and your businesses is much more difficult than this aspect of it, so just tack this on as well as you go along. Be patient.
Don't be a dick.
That's
yeah. Well, and again, shocking to me how that is. I was talking to Ill Vibe, who's a rapper, and he was talking about how we were talking about the concept of just being good to people when you work with them. Yeah. And he was saying how, there's a big tour for a big artist, and he was chosen as a newcomer to open, to be, one of the early openers for this big name guy. And the only reason he was chosen, everybody that was kind of up for it was on the same level and maybe even a little bit better than him. but he's, tries to be in a good mood at work, always polite, always nice to everyone, good to be around. And essentially, they were like, we would rather hang out with you
Right.
for a tour than the other people.
Right. This is old world information, is it
Yeah,
not? Like
yeah.
From the old books, then that's the takeaway from all the major religious books.
You would think,
Yeah.
but a lot of people who think they know a lot about those don't remember this
Look
part.
at the top personalities today. Even the president of the United States got where they are by being giant pieces of garbage, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the whole that is something that's promoted. Like if you're an abrasive piece of garbage with an opinion, then you could be a huge popular news personality or the president even.
Right.
So you get that, and I think people are seeing that on television, thinking that if they're like that in the real world, that it'll work out for them. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I think it's a rude awakening for a lot of them. And they try that approach and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
wait a second, I've just alienated people. And you can permanently shut down a potential relationship with somebody in the media just by doing something way smaller than being, a huge D-bag.
Yeah.
And that's problematic because once you lose that particular avenue, that's probably going to be gone for good, So we sort of talk about ways to look, here's how you don't do that. So yeah, it's about being friendly, obviously, but you can even be friendly in the wrong ways where you're
Too friendly.
too friendly, it's too much, or you're trying to hype yourself up too much
It's
in a
knowing when
way.
to say no.
Yeah.
Or, excuse me, knowing when to accept a no.
Yeah.
When somebody says, listen, not interested at the moment, nothing personal, and just accepting that, again, I'm going to be back in a few months with something else for you.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that you said earlier was when you have something that you think is worthy that you want, and send it, how do you know when what you have is good enough to send to or to say to people?
Yeah, that's a great question.
This, because I know people that have had bad ideas where I'm like, don't pitch that idea. Don't.
You can have bad ideas and become president.
Well, that's a good one. So just all
Isn't
of
that
them.
true though?
Yeah.
But there's somebody out there that's going to resonate. That's going to resonate with what you're doing. There's always somebody that's interested in what you have to say, for better or for worse, right?
It may not be if it's a really great idea, you're probably going to get a lot more attention drawn to it. But if it's something that is just a little half-baked or not quite there, it usually works itself out as to what kind of response you're going to get. So at the very least you can do is present it in as good, albeit honest, a way as possible as to what it is, and then sort of see what happens. But like Dan said, I think that there's likely a chance that somebody will. It may not get you on the front page of the local newspaper or interviewed nationally, but it should at least get you something.
But how many times have you seen a TV show or movie that this is the most popular show in the world, and you're like, what? I'm not going to call out any show, but because
Big Bang Theory, I'm going to do it.
I was
Nice.
right. And no disrespect to that show, but I don't like that show.
It's not my jam. It's not my jam.
Yeah.
So many people do, and I was like, okay, it's just not for me, and I accept that these countering opinions to mine exist in the world somehow.
My favorite movie is the whole back. This is more prevalent back in the day when people would buy a lot of DVDs, but you'd always have the horrible, the worst movie ever with a little piece of copy at the end, like The Thriller of the Summer, brought to you by the Chicago Tribune.
That's it.
Right.
And you're like, what? How did this was one of the worst films.
Right.
Universally agreed. A terrible movie.
Yeah.
And there's always that one guy who's like, the best movie in years.
Right.
Right.
Usually
And
some
they'll quote
tiny
the outlet.
blogger.
Like what
Yeah.
you said, the Chicago Sun or
The
the
Chicago Tribune,
Right.
Sun,
If
whatever.
they're lucky.
So again, it's not really the Chicago Tribune. It's this one person who happens to work for that place.
Yeah.
It's that person's opinion, right? But
And it's also one part of one sentence.
that's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What was the
They're
rest of the sentence? That's the
usually taken out of
good part,
context.
right?
That happens. We
Yeah.
actually we do talk about that in the book about people that try to spin a negative review, and it's
Yeah,
tempting.
never
You
do
got to be
that.
careful,
when
though.
you cherry pick quotes and take them out of context, you may get caught, and it does not look good when you get caught.
Pre-internet was the greatest, though,
Yeah.
right? Because who's gonna check that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Make
and
a guy
now
up.
it's I write for the AV Club, and in the book we talk about, was it A.A. Dowd who and he wrote this whole response article about this person said I called this movie amazing when really I said it was the biggest piece of crap.
Yeah.
And called them out in this entire amazing article
great.
about it. Yeah, it's fun to read.
Now, I want to go to the physical copy of the book for a minute, if I could, because here's what I like, and I'm assuming this was done on purpose, but I don't know. Kurt Furla, who's
Yes.
a lovely, hilarious
Wonderful
gentleman,
human being.
and also possibly, I mean, a complete genius.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
He
At
certainly
graphic
is.
art, and so he did the cover design.
Yes.
Was that because you already knew him and you knew he was a genius?
Yeah. Great
Yes.
question. We've been
Yes,
working with
yes,
Kurt
yes.
on and taking advantage of his skills and generosity for well over a decade. And it's funny now that he actually lives we both live in Los Angeles now, me and Kurt. He lives just like about a 5-minute drive from me.
Nice.
So I get to see him all the time now and take advantage of his skills some more. And he's working for Robot Chicken now and some other great things. He's brilliant. And,
And that's it. And Steve says take advantage, but we really do, because he allows people like us to use his artwork for nothing. He's so generous with his time and with his art and his skill.
And so
KurtFurla.com.
Yeah.
and so generous to the comedy community here in
really-
Toronto. I
he's
mean,
became what would you say? He's not the face, but what would you describe? Because so many
everybody knows
comedians-
that poster.
If you
Like,
see a Kurt
It's
Furla
a-
poster,
it's a-
you know.
yeah.
you know it, and
That's
there
right.
are, I think there's a lot of people who don't know who made the poster, but they're like, I know that style.
That
Exactly.
eye-catching, beautiful work that he does. And
For the
he's
love of
done-
balls,
yeah.
pay this guy loads. Anybody
Yeah.
who wants to, because he's just incredible and such a generous guy with his talent. And but so for us, there was never. And again, even our relationship with Kurt, he's an old friend of ours, but we've always. It's not just the media, like working with Kurt, and if we were douchebags. I don't think. I think the next time Kurt would work with us, he might be like, "All right, well, I'm going to charge you 4 times as much because you guys were such a huge pain in my ass last
Or I
time."
won't work
Yeah.
with you at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would a book like this help, like, normal Nancy or Tom, Dick, or Harry? Like, just the,
Normal Nancy.
regular, like, in a normal field of profession. What?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think people sometimes assume when it comes to publicity, it's something either you're a comedian or a musician or an actor, and that's it. And we think that basically anybody. Sometimes it's. And we'll give you an example. Like we've done pro bono publicity sometimes for individuals who've been in a bit of a crisis. Recently, there was a good friend of somebody we know, and she had passed away, and her husband had passed away within a month of each other, and they left these 2 children who were like both well under 10. Without parents, and there was this GoFundMe campaign to try and raise some funds for them and their future and everything else. These folks and these kids certainly, and none of them are celebrities. None of them are trying to do anything except raise some money. And that was a perfect example of a scenario where somebody, just a regular individual in the public, just trying to raise awareness to something, could benefit from having a publicist, and often they can't afford that, right? Hopefully they can find somebody who will do that pro bono, but that's hard to do. And at least having these skills doesn't have to be for something that
It doesn't.
sad of a story, but that's one example of how this can really apply to different people.
And we don't frame it in the book. Obviously, we are geared. The book is very clearly geared towards obtaining media attention, but the methods that we suggest could be applied to looking for a job, just looking for anybody that you want to speak to about something that you like to take part of.
Yeah,
It's
or
approaching
expand
them
your
in
circle.
That's correct, and it's just approaching these people in the same manner.
I think this will be very helpful because as you were saying that, Stephen, I was thinking for people who have smaller local charities,
Yes.
I think this will be very helpful
That's right.
in locally getting
That's
their
right.
word out, right? In
Right.
finding ideas other than flyering your neighborhood or something
Yeah.
about
That's right.
Which we talk about too, how to do that.
Because a local
how to flyer your
charity-
neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay.
And-
Okay, good to
and
know.
There is a chapter on just very basic grassroots producing technique suggestions when you're on a budget, as we were when we first started out.
See, I like that because I was just thinking walking into the studio this morning that for my podcast, I'm like, maybe I'll just get postcards printed up and put them on cars. Should I do? I don't know what to do.
Right.
So now I will read the book and I will know.
Or even
how-
take out ads, which a lot of
flyer.
folks do. And
Yeah.
I'll put an ad in the local alternative weekly, and we usually advise against that.
Right.
Where that money could be, that could be $500-$600, and that money could be spent in much, much better ways, or
Yeah.
not spent at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a lot you can do. I like our book. It's good.
We're going to be performing the book live tomorrow at the Second City.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. We're
From
doing a
12
seminar.
to 5 p.m. We're doing the Media Horror live seminar and the John Candy Box Theatre at the Second City in Toronto.
And so, yeah, if anyone is listening in the Toronto area, they can go to mediahorror.me.
That's correct.
And so what happens at the seminar?
We're just going to read
act
the
outs?
book live on stage.
Nice.
In a series of voices and charge you a lot more money.
No additional commentary at all.
No,
Yeah.
Right.
there will be no
No
questions.
Q&A,
Very
okay.
Andy Kaufman.
We'll actually include in the book we talk about how to accrue your own media list and the ways to do that simply. But in the seminar, doing it here in Toronto, we will include a media list, which took Dan, long time.
Wait,
to
you're just
compile.
going to give it out?
Yeah, we don't feel that should be private information,
But in this case, well, here's
Yeah.
the thing with that. Like, before we do that, I will speak with Cassandra and say, Cassandra, do you mind that I add your name to this list? And because if somebody called this station and said, hey, I would like the name of the producer of the Ward Now show,
Yeah.
they would give it to them.
Sure.
right?
That's
So-
a good point.
Right.
I just feel like it's like, yeah, people usually keep those contacts so tightly held.
But why?
Yeah, it's a,
Again, it's
it's
public
a great
information.
point. You're right.
It's stuff we've gathered over time. It's just a collection of names and emails, right? It's
Yeah,
public
that was
I
information.
feel like you're breaking all the rules, and
it's
I like
ridiculous.
it.
We're going to break one more rule and say if anybody listening wants to come to the seminar tomorrow, why don't we say the first 5 people that go to our website and send us an email from mediahorror.me can get into
That
the
references
seminar
this show.
for free.
That references Ward and Al.
Ward and Al.
So if you are listening in the Toronto area, we're going to have people listening in like Halifax who are like, but I can't get there in time.
do what you have to do.
But-
Yeah, sorry to be so Toronto-centric.
No,
rest
it's
of the country.
listen.
Nothing personal.
I'm sure. What if it goes crazy and then you take it on the road?
That's the plan. We're going to be doing it in Hollywood within the next couple of months. Second City Hollywood,
Toronto,
which will be fun.
Hollywood, next
we're
stop,
done.
Moose Jaw.
Moose Jaw. Let's
Jaw.
go.
Right?
Let us go.
It
My
could
favorite jaw.
expand. Well, I mean, I think this is. Are you slightly worried about putting yourselves out of work, or are you just like we're gonna focus on comedy again now?
I would
That's a
love
great
to.
question.
I would love to do more. In my dream world, I would love to just be making comedic whatever it is. Keep doing that, and then when I have time, if I can help people, I would do it for nothing. If I was doing what
Well,
I
don't tell people that.
You guys are a bit of a. I'm having a conundrum here. You guys are you seem like great guys, right? When you started, you're in comedy, and you're getting media contacts, and then you're giving them away, right? Which a lot of people wouldn't do, and I wouldn't even do that unless it was to close friends. Okay, and then. And that's great, but then now you're getting into the media work and you're doing PR stuff, and then you're putting out this book with all the media contacts and telling all your secrets. What's your problem?
A couple of nice Jewish boys who clearly had some good ethics drilled into us.
It sounds
beaten
like
into us.
we're making it sound like we're being nice like that, but when we break it at the end of the book, we'll cut to the end of this. It says, look, this can be summed up in a couple sentences. Just be nice, be patient, be clear, and be persistent. Every time you do something else, repeat this process. That's all it is.
And we also
So
say
that's all it is.
If you're still too lazy to do it after reading this book, just hire us
Right.
and pay us a lot of money,
That's
and we'll
true.
do
You
it.
can, and of course, but again, like
We'll
just
take your
say
money.
you may as well do this. If you're doing all the other things that go along with this, you may as well do this as well. And again, that's all it is. It's just ask nicely, be clear, and if somebody doesn't have time for you at that moment, do not take it personally, and just okay, I'm going to come back to you.
I think what is surprising us, Jay, and this is interesting, and I don't know, maybe it is a difference between sort of a stand-up and sketch background. It just seems like the comedy world hasn't destroyed your souls.
Yeah.
And that you still have a nice, friendly spirit. And I don't...
I think
we're
it's destroyed our
confused.
souls in some ways, but I think it hasn't destroyed our souls in this desire that we've had from the beginning, because we've had great people when we were starting out helping us and guiding us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right from the get-go.
we've always wanted to try and give that back wherever we can. But we can still be bitter in other areas.
So the
of
book's
comedy.
not filled with actually secretly bad advice? Because that's what I would do.
Maybe.
I would do that.
Jay,
It's all
Jay
right.
never write a
Maybe.
book.
Can neither confirm nor deny that.
The book also has every chapter has a lovely quote at the beginning, even from, and this guy I listen to because he's super smart. He has a PhD. If you want some, come get some.
Yeah, the doctor of thugonomics, John
Yeah,
Cena.
John Cena. Come on.
Right, that's it.
also, a very important taught us hustle, loyalty, respect.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's the whole right. We really we're ripping off John Cena's whole gimmick.
Look,
with
he's
this book.
fine.
That's it.
He
He's
has enough
fine.
for you. He has enough for you guys to share.
But that's it. If you want this, come get it, right? Because it's there. Shows like this, they want content. They want to have people, interesting people to talk to. And we know that there are, thousands and thousands of people across this country, maybe more, that would love to be here talking about things that they love doing and things that they're excited about, right? And so come and do that.
Awesome. So if you are in the Toronto area, tomorrow, Saturday, September 16th, the John Candy Box Theatre at Second City from noon till 5. Go to mediahorror.me if you want to go to the seminar. If you email them and say Ward and Al,
Yes,
first
Ward
5.
and Al. First 5.
Get
We're
in
very
there.
grateful to the show. You
Walk
guys have
in.
been
We
very
sure
nice
are.
to us over the years.
Listen,
And-
we secretly, and even though Jay and I are being very jaded right now, we do want to also, we're giver backers also.
Absolutely.
We've been very lucky. And but also, if you're listening outside of the Toronto area, the book is in Canada. It's at Chapters, Indigo. It's on
Staples,
Amazon.
yep.
It's at Staples, which I think is so fascinating.
I didn't know that they carried books prior to
Staples.
this.
Is that right? Over in the,
Which is I love books and I love office supplies.
We got to sneak in
And I'm not
under
joking.
the business umbrella. With
Right?
that, so
We're in the
yeah.
duo
Smart.
tang section, so look for us there.
Get-
Those are still a thing, right?
Get a
Dude
Tang.
Tang.
They are still a thing.
Yes.
And I'm not kidding. I love stationery and I go to Staples. a
Do it
lot.
tanks.
Do
They're
tanks.
underrated. They're underrated. Those do it tanks.
They really are.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah.
And so mediahorror.me to find out all about all of it. Guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Al.
Our
Thanks,
pleasure.
Jay.
It was very grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
And come back anytime.
Love
Will.
to.
Love to.